Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday the 13th of April. So, what we got in store today then? Well, let's look at the news events first. Let's just crack on and bring these up. Let's just switch over to news calendar, open that up and look at today. So we've got the PPI coming out later today. We've seen the, should have seen it, let's just update this. The employment data for Australia has kicked in there. So came out much brighter than expected. We're seeing the Aussie move on the basis of that this morning. Unemployment rate tightening further. This reduce, they're sort of talking about holding rates in central bank. This could put pressure on the inflation levels. We'll see what develops from there, but certainly giving the Aussie a bit of a kick this morning. So that's that. Coming out later then is the PPI as suggested at 1:30. Unemployment claims that tend to move the market so much. The weekly figures, and we've got the Bank of Canada governor speaking there at 2 p.m. So watch out for some action on that basis. Yesterday the overnight rate for the Canadian dollar was left at 4.5%, but the Canadian dollar is still remaining relatively strong. So let's go and have a look at the markets anyway. We're starting off looking at euro dollar. There is not a great deal I fancy trade this morning, and we might get a euros pushed up here. It's given us a higher low. It's confirmed another higher low. Really, that's the direction it's running in. I would have liked it just to come back to its daily pivot to give us a bounce this morning. It's got a bit of divergence over the highs here. There'll be traders selling into that because they'll sell into anything that moves upwards at the moment, and or downwards they'll buy into anything more than ever, it seems. But this will be being sold into by the retail side of things out there, which is a very small part of it, to be fair. But yeah, it's pulling back there on the euro at the moment a little bit. Let's see if it pulls back. The pound having a reasonable movement up. It doesn't matter what sort of forecasts are put out, it seems quite robust at the moment against the dollar at least. We're seeing around these highs here, this push here. We could see another break to the upside. I was looking earlier in the week for a breakout retest of this trend, this main pivotal area, but yesterday just saw it break through it on the news there in the afternoon, and well, it's just continued to run through there at the moment. So that's the point I really wanted to get into. I'm not into it around any of these points. So it did come in rather quickly. So at the moment it's still got potential up to its prior highs, at least up to its weekly R1 still not being hit. So there's some scope for that. I'm sure there'll be short traders coming into that as well, trying to get their luck on the way down. Dollar yen yesterday finally made it a bit more of a bullish day of things, but it's choppy. To me it's become a little bit too risky. I looked at it yesterday. It did have a move. It did have to move down with the other currencies, and then it's recovered a lot of it on the way down. There we go, recovered quite a lot of it. Maybe we got the step down, and it could be the one to watch this morning down towards its S1 there. Certainly got scope. If the other markets, if the euro and the pound are pushing up, this may come down in terms of the strength of or weakness of the dollar, and hopefully the strength of the yen. Australian dollar, it's a mess this morning. It's had this surge there from the news earlier on. It's sold off, pushed back up again. Just looking at it from the bigger time frames here at the moment to see the swing opportunities. It's almost not from here. It started moving again from here, to be fair, on the dailies, and maybe if it breaks back above the highs at some stage on the 4 hours here, it will give us a higher low and more confirmation, and potentially a bigger a further move up towards. It's not hit over the S1 or the R1, so the R1 could be in play. So that's the Aussie, but it's a patience game. Canadian dollar's just gone without us. It's just continuing to sell off here. coming down into this hourly picture. It's already hit the S1. Now this could catch a little bounce here, but if it then breaks back through, well, it's got a better chance of catching into its S2 today because it hasn't caught the daily pivot. So there is scope for that to push on further. Okay, some of these other pairs I keep looking at, everyone wants to short the Euro Yen. I said yesterday, well, they must have been squeezed a little bit further because we've seen it push up even higher, and it's not a place to be looking for selling tops at the moment with it. It is into yet another top here. We've seen it running into the previous tops there. It might go from this one, but looking at the across here, yep, might get a bit of a short-term retracement on some of these areas. It has consolidated out a bit more. It's diverged. It's got a way to prove a change. This structurally is still pushing upwards, so I wouldn't want to be trying to trade against that. Euro pairs, EURCAD, I've been tipped off. The EURCAD might have looked a bit longish at one stage. I'm not sure if that was the tip off. It's alright, it's one of our traders. He's now gone and made tea and he's not listening, so I don't know what he was looking for. So I'm assuming he's left a note there that he just mentioned it, and it would have been a lovely bounce off the double tops that was sitting there and the pivot all combined together. However, it's broken it. Now this might change post news, but the Canadian dollar just seems so strong at the moment, relatively. So you'll see it, the pound CAD holding up a little bit better, similar boat, but it is into its pivot. We'll see what it can do post 8 o'clock. This might be another one that is worth a look. Aside of that, I'm sort of looking at the Aussie CAD. It's all chopping because they're just both doing well. Aussie Yen's doing pretty well, pushing up there. Solid old move, but very consolidated and ugly yesterday. Not for the day traders, more for the swing traders, this pair in the last few days, but it does have some good intraday moves. Anyway, that's pretty much it for me this morning on those. Let's just have a quick flick through to look at the other markets. Look at gold. So gold continue to push up there, softer dollar overall, and there's the consequences of that, pushing back up above $2,000 an ounce. Crude got its surge yesterday. It's sitting around this sort of area now. It's managed to break above those highs there, and looking more positive. Still got this unfilled gap, but that could take a while to come back to fill that if it's the way it's going, because of the news that made the gap as well. So looking solid to the upside at the moment. I know it's pulling back on the short term just before you sort of shout at me, but if you were looking to trade it on the shorter time frame, a move nicely back into that pivot, as long as it finds support on it, could be an opportunity for later. Right, that's that. Quick look through the equity market. CSI 300 is down today as well. Again, I should say, sold off there. The Nikkei is doing a little better. It's starting to look a bit more like it's in a wave to the upside here. So as I mentioned, this island reversal that's running through there, looking reasonably strong. Maybe it's pushing through. In fact, there was one going southbound originally, now we're going northbound again, but gone a bit ugly, but it's at least got some trend. The Nifty 50 coming into its R1 pivot there on the monthlies. I've just clicked on let's hopefully get onto the 4 hourlies here. Quite messy looking on the 4 hourlies. My pivots have all gone mad, that's why. They've all gone all pinched. Anyway, I'll leave that. But the Nifty 50, I still see further upside on that. It's broken its trend, it's given us higher lows. Still bullish on that for those traders. Aussie dollar, don't know, Aussie dollar, the Aussie 200, not really sure why I'm looking at this, but it all started because someone asked me the pivots work. Yes, and it's still doing okay, although those strong jobs numbers not necessarily helping the equity markets for now. We just need the central bank to come out and say, dispute the fact that it's doing okay, the economy. Right, US 500, the S&Ps, daily wise, we've got this divergence kicking through here through yesterday, pushing back up again this morning. Overall, generally, when we see the dollar sell, we see the equity markets pushing up. Well, it's got in that sort of drifts, and it's got upside. Higher lows coming through on the dailies here is looking too positive for me to be selling. The Dow Jones, again, there'll be some divergences over the highs here. It might just break through them though. It's just looking a little bit too solid. The Nasdaq still struggling up here a little bit. It's away from the tops, as I think I mentioned yesterday. Consolidation around the top is not a great picture yesterday. It rolled back through, trying to get back up there this morning, but it's looking a bit iffy at the moment. It perhaps needs a decent surge, something to really drive it. The German market then, the DAX, yesterday pitched back up there. It's getting selling and coming into the prior highs. It's not surprising, but it's having another go this morning. Maybe today it's going to push on further, but looking pretty decent at the moment. Although coming down the time frames, it's looking like the move is quite short-lived here. It's on the news, on the inflation news yesterday. But we'll see. It's below its pivot at the moment. It's not looking quite so bullish there in the short term. We'll see how it reacts to the pivot itself. It could roll back. Not really wanting to be a seller. I'd rather be a buyer in this market and in the direction it's going, to be fair. But there is that scope there. FTSE futures here, still pushing up quite solidly. Has run into its weekly R2 here, so could find a bit more resistance from that. It is though above its daily pivot here. Maybe it's going to push back up there again. That news action there, 1 o'clock news, gave it the real push. Anyway, we'll see. It's looking more positive this morning. Okay, that's it for me today. I wish you all a great day's trading, and I'll catch you in the morning. Bye for now. There we go.